Hi guys, Zach here with another Command & Conquer Red Alert video. In this game I'm playing a 2v2 match on the map Destruction Derby. I'm starting in the bottom left position, playing as the Soviets. So this game was just basically a fun game. I was playing for, I always play for fun I guess, but I was just having a fun game. It wasn't necessarily the best strategies, I was probably just having a bit of a drink and just playing for laughs. So some of the things I do in this game I probably wouldn't do in normal matches, and I think in this game what I was thinking about doing was just going for multi-MCV, which you probably don't usually do in team games, and you probably see why. Now, one of the questions I got in the comments, I think it was about maybe a week or so ago, was about if I had any tips for new players. So I thought at the start of this game I'd just go through some tips I'd have for people who are probably starting out in multiplayer. And the tips are going to apply to regular maps like Arena Valley Extreme, for example, is a common map a lot of people play. They're not going to apply to mega maps, the ones that have like unlimited money, or maybe specialist maps like The Hills Have Eyes. First of all, what I'll talk about is economy and tank production, because obviously if you don't have tanks on field, that's quite a major thing. So it's like, how do you keep up with other people building? The first 4 buildings you build are always going to be the same order. First of all, you build a small power plant. Then you build a barracks. Now, I've seen a couple of players in recent games that I've played actually go a small power plant and then build an ore refinery before they build the barracks. That's a really bad idea, because you need your barracks to build your infantry, to do some scouting early on, because what your opponents might be doing is they might be taking an early infantry rush and you need to see what's coming. So always build your barracks before you build your ore refinery. So then once you build your ore refinery after your barracks, then you're going to build your war factory. Now the build order differs depending on whether you've got an ore only map or whether you've got an ore and gems map. Now as a new player I'd probably just line up 2 ore trucks straight away from your war factories, whether you're playing a ore only map or an ore and gems map, and then start tank production after that. Of course sometimes I'll only build 1 ore truck, but if you're playing starting out, I'd probably go for that build order as rule of thumb. Now, if you're on an ore only map, what I would do, as I've done here, is I would build an ore refinery straight after your first war factory. Maybe you probably need to build a power plant, small power plant though, just to make sure you're up on power. Otherwise, your building speed is going to slow down. And then after you've built your second ore refinery, then you can build your second war factory. If you're on an ore and gems map, what I'd do is after you build your first war factory, I'd go straight onto your second war factory and then build your next ore refinery, and just obviously make sure you have a small power plant built again, just to make sure you don't lose power. So that's probably the build order I'd go, just as rule of thumb, just to get yourself started. My second tip is not to invest too heavily in base defences, especially early on in the game. And I think one of the reasons people invest a lot in base defences is that's sort of, I think, how you're taught to play when you play the AI. The AI sends waves of forces, and you invest in defences and they protect your base, and then eventually, once you've built a big army, you're able to go out and defeat the AI. And I do agree, base defences are absolutely excellent against the AI and well worth the investment. However, if you're playing a multiplayer match, especially like team games, 2v2s, 3v3s and 4v4s, then I think overinvestment in base defences is generally a bad idea, because what you have with base defences, you have stationary defences which can't move around, they can't give you map control, and map control is just so important so you can expand to new ore patches and then build your economy and build your tank production. Base defences though might be a good idea sort of if you're playing longer games, and if you're building your base out, expanding to new places and then trying to build your defences in those places. So it's just not over-investing in base defences early on and compromising tank production. My third tip is not to keep all your units huddled in your base at the start if you're fighting in a multiplayer match that's 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, because what happens in those instances is your teammates if everyone else is fighting an unbalanced game. You might have like a 3v3 match where your two teammates are fighting on the field against 3 other opponents because your tanks are sat in your base and not out fighting. And in those instances, of course, your teammates are more likely to get defeated because they're outnumbered. So it's just helping early on if you have the tanks to do so. And it sort of links to my first point of how to build up those tank numbers by building an economy and then getting your second war factory for that tank production. And my fourth tip for this video will be using Q move when you are doing tank fights. Now there are videos on how to use Q move specifically, so do check those out. But basically what you do is you're holding down Q when you target your tanks to attack things like other units and buildings, and what that does is units keep on firing on that target when they're moving around. This gives you a big advantage because when your tanks move around they take less damage and they just keep on firing without you having to click every single time, so that's a real big thing and will really improve your gameplay. And that's going to be the final tip I give for this video, because I could go on forever. There's like tons of tips I could give, but I don't want to like just overdo it. And those are just some of the main ones that come to mind when I think of multiplayer and for new players. Anyway, back to the game. Right, we're going to see Red here coming in from the bottom base. He's taken out an ore refinery there and taking out some tanks. I'm also fighting at the other side of my base against Cyan, who's using those light tanks. And we can see there's a lot of light tanks, but they're all very damaged. And I should hopefully be able to take quite a few of them out quite quickly. But you can see my tanks are being taken out a little bit as well. He's heavily investing in base defences with pillboxes. As well as those light tanks. And now I'm at the other side of my base. I've managed to fight off the attack from Red there, and I'm just trying to regroup my tanks there. But now fighting this fight, you can see we've taken out a lot of those light tanks, but we've lost a lot of our own tanks in doing that. We've got a few tanks there on very low HP, and just having a bit of a look at Red there. I'm going for the attack on his base. Let's see what we can do here with these tanks. I can also put them in that ore patch just to destroy any ore trucks that try and go there and hamper his economy so he's not able to build as many units. But we go into his base and we see immediately there's going to be some Tesla there, and I'm not really going to want to go through that narrow bottleneck into that Tesla, so I'm going to pull back for the time being because he's probably going to do Tesla crawl near that ore patch. You can see his tanks and infantry are there for the time being. And I'm building some Tesla of my own. I know I said don't always overinvest in base defences, but once you built your economy up, then sometimes in longer games, base defences do pay off. In this game, I know my opponents are going to be attacking my base from both angles, so in this scenario, it does actually pay off. Although I didn't really do the right thing at the start by doing multi-MCVs. Usually in team games like 2v2s and stuff, you never do that because it does leave your team weaker at the start of the game. And now we can see Red coming in with some heavy tanks, but he hasn't got enough to do any real damage, and should be able to take them out without too many problems. I'm also building another Tesla there, which I'm going to place further up and hopefully take out those 2 heavy tanks. But we can see at the bottom of the map we've got Red attacking us, and I'm going to need to pull back from there because it's not working too well. We can see Cyan with light tanks there, and we try to take out one of his ore trucks, which we managed to do successfully. Just trying to really stop the other 2 teams from being able to expand out and use extra ore patches, because what we want to do is we want to limit their economies so they can't build as many tanks. And we can see this Red base, it looks like it's going to be going down quite quickly, and we've managed to successfully take out that base expansion. You can see Red taking some tanks up there. He's also taking some units to the bottom side of my base, which I'm going to take some tanks in to defend. I've also got a Tesla built there just to provide that bit of extra defense. I was trying to go for an attack on Red's base here, but he's left some tanks at his base, which makes things a little bit more difficult. But now we've got this attack at the bottom of my base. I've got that Tesla there providing a little bit of defense. I'm also got another Tesla on the build as well, just to provide a bit more defence to that bomb patch. And now we're going for an attack on Red's base, but it does look like he does have a lot of tanks there, and he'll probably be able to defend that. I won't be able to get too much damage there. And now I'm going for the attack on these tanks at the bottom of my base.
Unit ready.
And we can see Cyan with some tanks coming to the bottom part of the map. So I have to make sure I defend this. I've got a heavy tank there in my base, could do some damage to some ore trucks, so I'm going to need to make sure that gets taken out. We can see that those Cyan tanks taking out my tanks, heavy tanks there that had just held back a bit. So I'm going to need to take all my tanks to defend this bottom position at the moment. And I'm sort of happy that Cyan's fighting here, because I only want to really fight on one front, so it helps me for the time being. And what I'm going to try and start doing is expanding towards this gem patch here, and also hopefully be able to build some base defences there. So let's see how this fight goes against Cyan. He's starting to funnel tanks in at the moment, one at a time, but the problem is I don't have too many tanks held, and I'm going to need to pull back a little bit and regroup. And while I'm doing this, I'm just trying to expand my base up there, up at the top of the map, and now I've got some of my tanks grouped together, and now hopefully this fight is going to probably get a bit interesting. We've got Cyan, he's gone to medium tanks, and we've also got Red there, of course, as the Soviets, using heavy tanks. So let's see how this fight goes. We just have to move our tanks around. We'll be using Q move to make sure we target one tank at a time and just take them out as efficiently as possible, and just keep our tanks moving as much as possible so that to reduce the damage they take. However, our opponents at the moment have got superior tank numbers, and that's making it very hard for us to fight and get a good trade-off. But we are managing to whittle those tanks down, those heavy tanks going down quite quickly, maybe not moving quite quickly enough, and we're also getting those medium tanks down, and suddenly it's looking alright for us. We do have a decent production behind us, and I'm just keeping on expanding to the right here, and we can see those medium tanks funneling through from Cyan. So as soon as Cyan produces his tanks, he's taking them through, and some of those tanks getting a bit of a lost in the tracking there. But you can see my tank numbers at the bottom of the map, they're not looking too good anymore, and it's making it very hard for us. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and build some Tesla where those medium tanks are being funneled from, and hopefully that's going to improve my situation, because those tanks are going to be damaged before they get to the bottom of the map, and some of them taken out. Build another Tesla there, and you can see it destroying some of those tanks, taking them on yellow HP, and that's going to really hurt the reinforcements of Cyan. So let's see if Cyan's noticed, because a lot of his attention will be on the bottom of the map and what's going on there, and he may not notice, well, I certainly don't think he'll notice that a lot of his tanks have been taken out before they even get there. And now we've got starting to build our Tesla coil numbers. We should be taking all those medium tanks out before they reach the bottom of the map. And we can see that there's no more Cyan tanks going down, so I think he may have noticed and has stopped taking them down immediately. We're going to try and clear up these Cyan tanks though, that are already on the bottom of the map. There's not too many left, and you can see I've now got the superior tank numbers, but Red is now coming in with some forces, and this is going to make things a little bit more tricky, because now again they've got the superior tank numbers, and I may have to fall back here. We'll have to wait and see. And Cyan seems to have his tanks on the move. He's pulling them back a little bit. He's obviously not wanting to take the fight right at the moment. And now he's trying to take out those base defences at the top of my base. So he definitely knows they're there. And he was realising that he did lose quite a few tanks there when he was sending his reinforcements through. So now we've got the fight with Red on the bottom of the map. And we've got Cyan trying to bust through those base defences at the top. We'll have to see how this goes. We've got about even tank numbers at the moment, but if we can move our tanks around enough, and we've got good reinforcements coming in, and now we're managing to push Red back, and I think he's retreating to his base, and we just continue to build base defences at the top of our base, just to prevent, because Cyan doesn't have many tanks on the map now, so it's quite a good time for us just to build those defences up. And when unless he builds a substantial number of tanks, he's not going to be able to break through that Tesla. And now again, we can see that red is going for the expansion at the middle right of the map. So yet again, I'm probably going to try and go and take that out. So let's see how this goes. He does have a couple of Tesla there now, but we've got the better tank numbers here. And let's see if he uses the tanks with the Tesla. He is going to, but we need to take out those Tesla quick, because those Tesla do major damage. And now we've taken them out, we can sort of take out these tanks, and then we'll need to go through this for this extra Tesla. He's also built a lot of infantry. Not always the best idea in like big fights, because tanks can squash over infantry, so they don't often pay off. But you can see that Tesla, that building speed, because he's got an extra construction yard, it's a bit faster. But it looks like we're going to be able to take out these extra base defences. We could still see Cyan try to take some reinforcements around there. I think he's actually trying to go to the top left maybe. So what we're going to do is we're going to attack his base while he's outside. And I'm just going to take a quick glance at the left of my base, make sure I'm getting no attacks that are going to be coming from there, because you can see I've got a bit of a blind spot in the top left of the map. And now we're going for attack on Cyan's base. Let's see how this goes. You can see Cyan bringing in his medium tanks for a bit of defense. And we could also see red as well going into my bottom part of my base, where I've got a bit of Tesla there, but it's not as well guarded as the top. And I've got a few exposed war factories, which it looks like he's going to be able to take out. But we do have 3 Tesla, and those Tesla are quite well situated behind those cliffs. They're quite hard to get to, and hopefully they're going to be able to do some decent damage. I've managed to produce some tanks from that war factory, which are going to provide a little bit more defense as well. And it does look like the bottom of the map is going to be okay for the time being. And let's see what's happening in Cyan's base. He's got those medium tanks there. They're in decent numbers. If he brings them to the other side of that bridge though, they are going to be taken out quite quickly, because I've got a good Tesla back up there and some flame towers as well. By the way, the flame towers were just used really as a buffer, just to take some damage, so that while a Tesla could fire. But now I'm going to be expanding onto the other side of that river, onto near to Cyan's base. So let's see how this goes. There is a way to cross that river there, and you can see my base is now going to be expanding towards Cyan's, and Cyan is in big trouble because we managed to take out his war factory. And you can see red there as well, red at the other side of my base, trying to take out some buildings, but there's only 2 tanks there. I'm going to be able to defeat them with the tanks I've got. Another war factory of Cyan is going to go down, and Cyan is in big trouble because I've got the Tesla crawl coin. You can see red there destroying some of my ore refineries there. Not too much of an issue because the ore patch next to those ore refineries has been completely depleted, but I am going to need to make sure those tanks don't do too much damage. You can also see red in Cyan's base. I'm going to pull these tanks back a little bit because red's doing a bit too much damage in my base with those heavy tanks, which are now going to be taken out. Also going to build another war factory, and at the top of the map, and you can see now Cyan has tapped out. He saw the I think he saw the base crawl was coming. He'd lost a couple of war factories, and he's decided it's over, and also red has also. So just a bit of a fun game there, just doing a little bit of a different strategy, going for multi-MCV at the start. Not the best way to play multiplayer games, but it was fun. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video.